All right there. Hello there. Welcome to our first news. We'll be going for a long time here. Today, we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. And we have 2025, 2026 to discover on the very premise of the tandem of things that are going on right now. We have lots to discuss and put together. There's a lot of different types of things that I want to discuss, but it's just not viable for most people. So if you can't pay attention, leave the podcast. This is going to be a very long podcast, and I just wanted to go through all the sorts of things going on. Honey PayPal versus Megalag, indie content creators. Then we have Suno Udio AI versus indie AI lawsuit, basically Elgato law firm. Yeah, that's also indie creators fighting against them. Then we have the European Union versus Stop Killing Games. We are in a world where facts are considered a form of harassment, where people like me are scrutinized for using factual means for a better good and a larger mean towards a better good. Now, poetically, this says a lot about society. And I just want to cover down all the types of things that are occurring at the moment because we have lots of big money fighting against small money. Whether you are left, right, or an independent voter, you have a choice to make. Do you want to go against big money and have less, more money in your pockets? Or you want to be part of big money and have more money in your pockets, but you have to steal it from the pockets of other people? You have a very decision that a lot of people take. Most big tech companies are often usually what I consider companies worth over $1 billion whenever they are involving themselves in politics and technology. In the movements towards the AI database moratorium, we have a lot of data centers that are structurally inefficient towards how countries should be run. Our electric grids are simply not prepared for those things. And currently, we have to cover many topics related to AI, water, electricity, roblox, consolidation, social media, techno-fascism, and much more to go. Now, of course, if you're with me for a long time, I've always had very consistent statements and very consistent stances on certain subjects that are in relation to modernism's culture. Now, we are people of universal culture, and if you're a cadet of mine, you would just exactly know how I am. I am confrontational, brittle, and at times have no pride. I have no pride for all the things that I do, and I simply hold myself straight to the truth that most things I will speak of are of truth. And if I had done anything wrong, you would know I would have done something wrong simply because I said I have done something wrong. If you're somebody who has been around me for a long time, you just know about how big money is and all the cults that have been forming around Donald Trump. Because we have another big fight going on. Let's list down the amount of fights that I think are great examples towards showing what creators are doing in order to combat big money, big interests, and big tech, and in relations towards all the corruption across all the world and all that you see so far. Now, my name is Visual President Nicholas, and I've been at this for 8 years. If you haven't left a like in the video, you should do it now, subscribe, and we're going to go break down all these things as we go. So we obviously need to do this and take this, we're going to take this as a study session, and I want to be able to show people that whatever I'm discussing is a little more serious than usual. So I'm going to be opening this, and I'm going to be showing my display. I want people to see this real quickly. Okay. So we have a display screen, and I'm going to open it right here. This is so if you're somebody who's watching this, you probably don't want to watch this if you're not interested. So click off the video if you're not interested. All right, here we go. We have a notepad, and we're going to be discussing all of this. So we have the Honey PayPal. All right, PayPal v Mega Lag lawsuit. Then we have Udio and Suno AI v Indie AI lawsuit. We're gonna do this real quickly because I feel like when I type very fast, it just doesn't come out, smoothly. But who cares at this point? And so we have Honey PayPal versus Mega lawsuit, Udio and Usuno AI versus Indie AI lawsuit. Don't worry, we have this. The European Union versus Stop Killing Games. We have that as well. There's a lot of issues in relations towards how countries are running their countries now, if you understand what I mean. And then we also have, no worries, I didn't forget, we have Slovakia. Slovakia v. Jacob Jal. We have that issue, which is a point of interest as well, because we are not going to forget that these people, Slovakia, are housing a really big dangerous criminal. We have the discovery of the creative society, which is basically a cycle cult. And we also have Alatra, which is also another cycle cult. These people are problematic in society. These are really big villains. They're people that you don't want to be associated with all the time, if you know what I mean. These people are very big conflicts of interest, and I haven't even put down even remotely any of the rest of them. We also have dialogue, Palantir connections. We also have dialogue, which is another. Yeah, I haven't even gone even to Bohemian Grove. We have Bohemian Grove. It's also another cult, if you want to call it that. Honey PayPal versus Megalag. Udio and Suna AI versus any AI lawsuit. You know, the AI lawsuit, it's related to, I think it's Miss Crystal or something. But yeah, the other law firm. We also have another lawsuit. And just so you all know, it is already hard for me to collect my thoughts that it's about to like break down whatever the type of things that I'm going to be breaking down here, because this video is going to go for a long time. We also have this. So if I'm right, we have the lawsuit against a specific company, and I just want to find a company name. Give me a second. It is a company. It's in relation to the fuck boom, because the fuck boom essentially is in trouble. So we also have. All right, let's restart this. Honey PayPal versus Megalog lawsuit. Udio and Suna AI versus the Delgado Entertainment law firm. European Union versus Stop Killing Games. Slovakia versus Jacob Jewell. And just so you know, Slovakia is people connected to the creative society. You know, it is often that cults often form in very underrepresented and underdeveloped countries. And unfortunately, most countries like that, usually Africa, we indoctrinate lots of people based on our end. In American countries usually are really infamously known for doing that. Same for UK and same for the European Union. We're not escaping you. Same for India. We also have the Creative Society, Alletra, Dialogue, which is connected to Palantir, and Bohemian Grove. And we have Invisible Narratives versus the Fuck Boom. These are really big conflicts of interest. A lot of these have to do with creativity, besides, you know, cults that are related to politics and a religion. So religion is a belief system, is a form of belief system, a way of learning of life, a way of practicing life. It should not be the answer to all life, should not be and necessarily the solution towards life. It is not the solution towards explaining how life works. All right, we look into science here. We're not looking into pseudoscience in here. We're not student intellectuals. Okay. Now, remoteness. This is a very high importance to me. Very high importance. Honey PayPal is in relation towards companies that often consolidate power and do operations behind the scenes. It is a coupon scheme scam that's been exposed by Megalag, yours truly, Megalag Doji, along with his brand, that's been involved in basically breaking out the news around Honey scam that scammed numerous influencers, content creators, and other people like me out of your money, that basically in which their service is a whole fraud and scam. It basically gives you false coupons that are by the way stolen from other stores. They implement themselves in stores. They give themselves free of charge and give themselves commission money to themselves. They will give you a basic subscription service from which you basically pay them money to save more money. Technically, which is really ironic. It's basically a cashback scheme, but it's also that service, whenever you use it, doesn't actually work. You get very fractions of a cent for the services that you do whenever you use Honey, which is, by the way, a plugin browser link extension. This is a thing that's been around since a very long time ago, 2015, 2017, and it's been, let's say, an ingenious technology that was around for a long time that's very conflicting with the messages around how that works. Now, of course, so that I don't disconnect, I'm going to be reminding you guys that if I ever tap on my screen and stuff like this happens, it's to make sure that things aren't going to go wrong. I have to mute everybody here because I am scared that people are going to be speaking over me. So that is a huge issue. And of course, lots of numerous content creators have also joined in onto the crew. And basically, after that, Honey lost billions of users. And up to my knowledge, let me be transparent, I don't know how much of this gizmo works around retails and coupon sales and all these things, merchandise, all of this first click, last click. I don't know any of that economic stuff. So if anybody can teach me about that, please do so. That would be lovely. So is what I know of based on the videos of his is a scam, and it's been going on for a long time, since let's say over a year ago when I first saw the Honey PayPal scam exposed. And basically PayPal owns Honey because they know that it would make them money. Don't forget, PayPal has attachments to Palantir. We're gonna get there soon. So that's one lawsuit, and it's basically a one-man army along with indie content creators that are suing these companies to make sure that they are put into justice and they pay for all the crimes that they committed. Now, based on our numerous violations that Honey, PayPal have already committed, just so y'all know, PayPal, MasterCard, and Visa have lots of ties to Collective Shout and numerous other extremist organizations that are known to be censoring contents like those of yours truly. Hi there. It's me. They've censored lots of content out there for artists like me, 2D artists, 3D artists, modelers, riggers, dancers, editors, all of those types of things. Requires a check to necessarily put them through so that they are basically posting content that is deemed safe for a platform. Now, when these companies usually pour things and buy out companies, just like Disney does, hi there, Disney, problems like these arise. You see, PayPal is a payment processor just like MasterCard and Visa. They sell cars, they sell all these things. They have a huge duopoly on this entire nation. And it's basically an oligopoly. If you want to be that person, you want to say technically it's an oligopoly. Yes, it's a lot of wealthy people who own a lot of different companies and make this a very miserable file for us. Now, if you're somebody like who's me, who's been involved with this, all this gizmo, Palantir is a company connected to PayPal. And Palantir is a surveillance state company. It is basically a corporate sham company that's politically lobbied into the United States and different countries. They basically do tech startups, they collect data, they sell cameras, they sell technology, and they sell positions in their company for people to start, other companies with. At times, Palantir is basically seen as a pseudo-intellectual philosophical haven for a bunch of stupid idiots who want money fast the fast way. And they usually do some of the most stupid things. Like, for example, Fox Safety has connections to Palantir. Who knew? Persona has connections to Palantir. And we haven't even gone to the next legal lawsuit battle. We have Roblox versus the Roblox community. And some countries, states, cities. Yeah, Persona is one of the very age verification services that Palantir gives to Roblox. The very person behind Persona happens to be connected to Palantir. When these people are connected to Palantir, it causes another conflict of interest. Yes, this is a very big, huge thing that I take seriously. Now, with it being that it is a hater, we're going to put this in line of people who are basically conflicts of interest, but from order of when they started these issues. So, of course, we have Honey, PayPal, Megalaugh. These people are connected to Palantir. These people are connected to Palantir, and these specific companies were some of the very first to start enacting on their policies. These people right here, Udia AI, Suno AI, they came way later. These people came way later. And Stop Killing Games and European Union, when they battled, they were a little later than usual because they came after the pirate software controversy came to be, when the guy finally stepped out and started talking about Stop Killing Games. Now, essentially, what Stop Killing is this movement that is in relation towards making sure companies stop stealing from gamers all the time and stop scamming them and putting them into pyramid schemes, along with the consolidation and all the crypto businesses that they've been involved in. Because lots of companies, usually, if you pay for a game, usually when the game is taken away from you digitally, the company doesn't necessarily have to give you a refund for those games. Most times, most companies often don't give refunds to gamers who often pay games on a platform like, say, a Steam or something, but usually it never happened on PlayStation. Most huge gaming console companies like Sony and PlayStation, like in their behavior, was a lot more recent. So we have European Union and Stop Killing Games, which is, let's say, came to be in the same exact time when Suno Udio AI came to be, but it came before. Let's say before they came, before all of this gizmo happened. So we have that. Jacob Jewel and Slovakia came way after Suno AI. So these guys came a little later because they're the creative society psycho cult that was exposed to have lots of also ties to the United States government. And I'm looking at you, Pastor, the pastor over there, who is saying that I'm the spiritual advisor to Donald Trump. No, you're not. You're just a lobbyist who happens to be connected to Tanzania and a lot of different other countries. Now, of course, if you're gonna say, Viz, can you name them out for me? Absolutely, that's what this video is for. Now, this is gonna be a very long podcast, and I'm gonna take a long time being able to explain this. So we're gonna explain what those actual bastards are. So we have a list of people here. We have, going down this list, we have these specific people who are conflicts of interest. We have Roberta Metsola, corrupt EU President of Parliament. This is the lady pushing out the age verification stuff, the garbage age verification stuff. She insistently pushed this through court 6 different times before the very last time allowed her to get through very cheaply through a rule that basically is just cheaply made to make sure laws get passed regardless. Basically, if people go to vacation, everybody else's votes in EU Parliament becomes deemed as yes at a specific time. So they basically voted for Chat Control 2.0, Chat 2.0 and COSA. They basically bundled it and packaged it together. And basically they said, let's hold a vote before everybody, goes to vacation. So they held it out as long as possible. And then they said, all right, now that everybody's on vacation, let's force their votes to turn in yes and pass the law through the court through a very dirty and very disgusting, awful, hatred, future way of passing a law just so all of you can watch your citizens. And if you were insistently very listening to your people, and I will say that Roberta Metsola from the EU Parliament, if you were truly for your people, if I looked at all the photos of you again and literally standing right next to the Pichai from Google, if I looked at that and I go, that's for the people, I would be delusional. So we don't even have that. We have the Creative Society and Alatra. Alatra and Creative Society are in relation to the man Egon Chulakian. We have Egon Allen, Egon Chulakian, Igor Mikhailovich Danilov, and Pastor Mark Burns. There are people who are in relation to Alatra who have been lobbying in the United States, along with Tanzania, other countries, EU, Parliament, and the United Kingdom. These people are basically essentially also connected to Palantir. You can very well assume that when Flock Safety comes from Palantir, you can very well assume that they will come from Oracle. Oracle, Palantir, big huge giants in this entire operation, because Oracle not only is now attached to TikTok. TikTok was bought out by the Ellison families, which is basically a bunch of billionaires and rich people who said, what if we just control TikTok? So while they fear-mongered about TikTok's the Chinese app and the Chinese are spying on us, they then bought that app with a worser person named David Ellison. David Ellison was like, I want money from my daddy, and I need to use it to buy out TikTok, just like how he started Skydance. And just so y'all know, just so you can get your history right, David Ellison is behind Skydance, and Paramount was bought out by Skydance. Basically, Skydance wanted to say, let's go buy out Paramount, so he needed his dad for that. Then they said Paramount, Skydance, and Warner Bros. And then they combined together, only because there was a dictator who was in presidency, and only because we kicked out Lena Khan from power. Just so y'all know, Lena Khan is a savior. She's like the best antitrust person I can ever look up on the internet, who was essentially built for that type of information, who covers antitrust lawsuits, forums, and articles. But some of the best. Now, Igor Danilov is a very big, conflict of interest because the man has lots of money and ties to a Ukraine cult. Now, of course, Russia, even Russia themselves, don't agree with these people and have pointed out that Igor Danilov is not a very favorable person, because usually when we broke down into his building, it says that basically whenever we were looking for Igor Danilov, by the way, Fred is to Jacob Jal. Jacob Jal basically exposed where Igor Danilov was, and we found out based on the intel from one of the victims who were named as a Heavenly Bird. The Heavenly Bird is usually a title rank put to a woman who is part of a creative society, or a Latra if you want to be that person. And these people are usually used as, I'm just going to say, if you're somebody who gets queasy from this, don't stay on the podcast. Heavenly Birds are usually women who are used to sexually satisfy the man himself behind the cult creative society. Igor Danilov is the man behind creative society, but also a Latra. And these people go to the most dirtiest, most darkest areas in order to get what they want. So we have a lot of conflict of interest. And Alan Egon Chalakian is merely a spearhead and a figurehead meant to be the front towards this entire thing, because the Creative Society, not just since the recording and release of the video from Nexpo's really huge video essentially covered this to a really big depth. And after that video was released, Electrons tried to start basically wiping out their channels along with Creative Society, because we finally basically exposed them and tell them that basically it fell off. Because once we figured out that they were an entire cult and they had lots of lobbying interests and a lot of connections towards the United States government, along with the Ukraine government and Russian government, we can tell that basically on that front, the Ukraine government, when they broke in and started sending their troops and soldiers over to those places, we found that it was essentially a honeypot, and he left and escaped. Now he's over in Slovakia. Now, why, you guys are probably asking, why did I put Slovakia next to Creative Society versus Jacob Jal? You see, Slovakia was the country that Igor Danilov ran to. And Slovakia is usually that country that has very light laws about people like those. The judge that basically took him in, Igor Danilov, the judge basically said, oh, this guy was fine. But when it was discovered that the judge was essentially another shill, very insane, yes, a judge was another cult member of the Creative Society. So when they were found out, they essentially got kicked away from their role and were removed from the court, because essentially it was too conflicting to have people like them, a judge from a cult, take the case of a cultist leader from a psycho cult named Creative Society. Jacob Jal is basically a guy who basically exposes cults. He's a guy who is anti-cultist, essentially, who has doing all this research along with Nexpo. And it's really disturbing to see how deep this goes, because this came after Udio and Suno AI. Now I'm gonna make sure I turn my camera around and do this so that my game doesn't disconnect. But essentially, yeah, that's a big thing. Now, Stop Killing Games is massive on this, and they want to sue Sony. So we have the European Union, and we also have Sony being sued by Stop Killing Games, because now when you start to get the biggest company in the world that you could ever know of when it comes to tech and gaming, Sony is the company you think of. Sony is the same company you think of when we talk about the anime industry's consolidation efforts in relation to BlackRock and Sony. Samsung, I'm looking at you. And same for you, India, your false smartphone company shill. There's so many different types of shills that I'm going to be talking about in this podcast. Now, of course, we are not done yet. We have Kenneth Copeland, who is a televangelist, cult leader, politician, psycho-cultist. This list is very long. We also have this person, Mike Huckabee, the Everbright CEO. Mike Walsh, con-futurist, writer, speaker. We also have Mark Kelsey, LexisNexis Rick's CEO. Mike Walsh, again, for LexisNexis legal CEO. Then we have Mike Vivere. The Zest AI CEO partners with Alexis Nexus. There's a lot of crooked, evil people involved in this. Then we have Invisible Narratives and the Frelboom. The Frelboom is the guy who made Skibidi Toilet. Skibidi Toilet was supposed to be a multi-hardcore world-building series in relations to making a science fiction world in relations to toilets, robots, TVs, and cameras. It's basically a dystopian society that was being formed across a few, periodically over the years, until one day the Frelboom decided to sign a deal with Invisible Narratives and basically got himself screwed. Now, honestly, the company Invisible Narratives is trying to hide this all under the rug and basically silence the Frelboom from ever speaking on it. Because the situation is essentially very complicated, this is not this going to be like I have literally lack on information on this, and I do know that Law by Mike is basically one of the guys helping sue these people. So we also have Bohemian Grove. Bohemian Grove, it could also be different people, but there's a lot more names that I have yet to address. So we have these people. Ryan McLenney is a Visa CEO. Michael Maybach is the MasterCard CEO. Satya Nadella is Microsoft CEO. Salim Ramji is the Vanguard Group CEO. Ryan Blolansky is the LinkedIn CEO. Eric Schmidt is the former Google CEO, Bohemian Grove member. Then we have Bloomberg. Yes, Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg, the head of Bloomberg LP, Bohemian Grove member. Bechtel family, corrupt world ongoers. Brendan Bechtel, chairman of Bechtel Corporation. Lauren B. Dates, chair of Bechtel Foundation, the Bohemian Grove private campground group. Then we have Christopher, maybe Christoph, I guess it's just Christoph DeVosser, Bain and Company CEO. Pete Brian Hegseth, U.S. Secretary of Defense. Timothy Donald Cook, he's now gone. He's no longer CEO. I repeat, he is no longer CEO. Tim Cook is gone. Then we have Jeffrey Preston Bezos. And Jeffrey Preston Bezos is now in a beef with Zoran Mamdani. This is another big fight that I think is essential to be able to see go on. So we're going to put every evil person here. Jeff Bezos versus Zoran Mamdani. This is a big fight because Amazon, basically the company, has lots of huge ties and connections towards New York as a city, New York as a state. And New York City is one of the very havens of where it's, Zoran Mamdani has his ties to. A lot of history, a lot of democratic socialism is founded upon this area. Modern take for that one. And Bernie Sanders has been going around everywhere endorsing candidates that is very strong, very tough on their key messages, and people who are most willing and most likely to sign in laws that are sensible towards getting this country to a better place. Now, being that this Bain & Company also is a big thing, we cannot forget about Bain & Company. Bain & Company versus More Perfect Union. When Instacart was exposed by More Perfect Union's investigation of Instacart's basically a grocery coupon, grocery prices, AI adjusted prices scam. Basically, it's just another AI scheme. It's an AI cashback scheme. Everybody knows what this is. But fortunately, I'm gonna search up the term. So what is it called? What is it called when Instacart adjusts prices? Now I'm gonna look this up and I'm gonna find it. We have it right here. Instacart's price adjustments and testing via software like Eversight are broadly referred to as algorithmic pricing or the price optimization / testing, basically called smart rounding. If you're somebody like me and you did the research behind this, you would know this is another shill. It's another scheme. It's another scheme to steal money from people. Okay, but this, what are you talking about? Absolutely. So, Instacart is one of those applications that help you shop for items. Here's a big catch. All the prices are AI adjusted, algorithmic pricing. So instead of an algorithm for content, videos, movies you want to watch, it's an algorithm for your groceries. Your groceries are now algorithmically AI trained and tested to see whether you're more likely to buy a banana from this place and how much you would pay for that banana. It's just an example. Now think of that, but all of your prices, everywhere you go, your stores, you wouldn't see a tag, an electric tag inside the store showing the price of an item. But when you move away from it and somebody else goes to it, they see a different price. Simply because when these stores collect your information, your data, just like Persona does with Roblox, these people essentially collect all of your data. All of it. Yes, your most private data too. And they say, what is he gonna likely buy? What is she gonna likely buy? And they would alter the price tag. These are called electric price tags. These are like algorithmically altered price tags. When your phone gets closer to these price tags, the price will change based on how much income you have. Income you can dispose of, how much money you have, how much, like what you searched up online, your search results for groceries, items, technology. Could be weird things too, like even things you buy from an, like say an anime store, maybe you buy something sus, who knows? But it could be anything. Now think of that, but the store you go to, everywhere you go, the prices will change. Based on how you move, how you eat, how you live, where you search, what you eat, and what you consume, what other people consume around you, so they can figure it out. And the more data they have, the more accurate it gets. So somebody could be paying for an item for like, let's say they charge somebody $1.93 for 6 bananas. Weird, okay. But then somebody who enters a store who has a higher income comes into the store, a higher income, consumer comes into the store, and then instead of paying $1.93 for 5 to 6 bananas, they pay $3.13 for those 5-6 bananas. Same bananas, same store, same year, same month, same area. You just happened to pass by them a few seconds ago. That's what's weird about Instacart. Instacart uses this specific algorithmic pricing model that is very troubling, and uses it against consumers who already have their wages shrinking. Because wages are shrinking, we are now going to relate ourselves to Donald Trump. All these people, it's also Donald Trump. We have the Democratic Party versus Donald Trump. Donald Trump is basically a Nazi pedophile grifter, rapist, sexual assault, convicted villain with numerous felonies to his name. He is a dictator, he is a techno-fascist, he is an authoritarian, he's the absolute pinnacle of the worst. He's the man allowing this to happen in the first place. Just as we already have issues over in the European Union, United Kingdom with censorship, COPPA, COSA, Kids Online Safety Act, if you didn't know. Kids Act is also a thing. Because of all this going on, we have a huge fight. It's still going. So the global censorship war is basically that. Essentially. Is that. It's indie creators, and lots of other content creators doing all the heavy lifting, saying, well, if they won't fight for us, we'll do it ourselves. That's what I'm doing here. I essentially did that. So people in me were like, what if we just invent the second internet? So we now have this. This is a big fight too, because flock safety is another big one. We have people who are against flock, called D-Flock, versus flock safety. These are other people who are against flock safety. So D-Flock is essentially the rebellious act of removing cameras in relation to flock safety, which flock safety holds databases that store data around your car, your movements, your whereabouts, everywhere you go. Basically, police can use this to surveil you, police can use to surveil you illegally against your will in violation of privacy, along with freedoms of expression, along with freedom of privacy and freedom of the press and freedom of the internet. So these are already conflicting with the message about wokenism as a whole. Now, if you're somebody like me who hates flock safety with a passion, you should go join the No Mark Project. So we have No Mark against flock safety. We have No Mark Project versus flock safety. I think it's No Mark Project. So we have the No Mark Project is frequently referred to as an alias or identifier used by underground activists, represents a direct action decentralized vigilante movement aimed at physically sabotaging, disabling, or destroying Flock Safety automatic license plate readers, cameras, various. Flock Safety is a multi-billion-dollar private corporation that manufactures and displays these network surveillance cameras for law enforcement and communities. No More Project is basically a bunch of vigilantes who had no choice but to say, instead of listening to the county members of, let's say, 40, 50-year-old fucking dumbass retards, we're gonna take the action into our own hands and break the cameras. Regardless if they cost them thousands of dollars, we're gonna keep breaking them apart until they are gone. Now, I'm gonna be starting that message. If you're somebody who's into like deflocking things or No Mark Project, continue to do what you're doing. You're doing work. Absolute great work like never seen before. Now, the Ellisons are a big issue. And so we therefore get ourselves to Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Yeah, we have them as well. Live Nation and Ticketmaster sued. We have it right here. A federal jury in New York found Live Nation and its subsidiary Ticketmaster liable for operating a legal monopoly and overcharging consumers by $1.72 per ticket. And again, this historic antitrust lawsuit, originally filed by the U.S. Department of Justice and a group of states, proceeded to be a verdict with 33 states in the District of Columbia after the DOJ reached a tentative $200 million settlement, which was the very first settlement that we've had about these two companies. What is really annoying is that Donald Trump stopped that. He stopped that. And we have another few states that are suing the Warner Bros. The Warner Bros. Merger with Paramount Skydance too. So Elizabeth Warren, you're doing great work as well. So we have the United States, basically a few versus Paramount Skydance. And then we have Warner Bros. Now, these two companies combined together is a really big issue because it also just not only puts the concertation of power in a very, very tight space, it basically helps them allow to adjust prices the whatever the way that they want. Netflix was already a problematic company by itself, but whenever you have less and less taking control of things, you start to notice how wrong things can get very quickly. Now, Stop Killing Games is to make sure that games aren't terminated and removed without your permission, wiped out of nowhere, and then later to not even get a refund for. So Sony physical discs, we're gonna get there. So now that we're there, let's go back to them. Stop Killing Games is doing a whole lot of work. And I want to talk about them real quick because Stop Killing Games, basically, right here, it says right here in their motto, I think, publishers are permanently destroying the video games you paid for. An increasing number of games are sold as goods, but designed to be completely unplayable for everyone as soon as support ends. We are demanding legislation to end this practice. Here is what the Stop Killing Games campaign says about them. This is their About the Initiative, and I want to read this. We are a global coalition of gamers, consumer advocates, and developers pushing for international legal protections. Video games are increasingly being designed to require central servers to function, even for single-player content. When publishers decide to shut those servers down, the games are destroyed entirely. We argue this practice is a violation of consumer rights, and if you purchase a good, it shouldn't self-destruct. We are launching formal petitions, exploring class action lawsuits, and engaging with lawmakers worldwide to end the intentional destruction of digital media. You would wonder, Wayback Machine. Right here. The Wayback Machine, run by Internet Archive, faced major cyber attacks, including distributed denial of service attacks, by the way, DDoS attacks, and a data breach exposing 31 million user records from an unclear group of threat actors, while a hacktivist group claiming to be Russia-based and anti-US, anti-Israel took credit. Security experts note that such claims are frequently unverified and deceptive. We had the same thing when we had Annabelle. I think there was like a specific hack of Spotify when somebody hacked, I think it was the Anna Archives or whatever, hacked Spotify and basically sapped all of their records and all their music from their platform ever that was above 1,000 plays. And basically just pirated the entire Frelling Oblivion out of the entire thing. But yeah, Wayback Machine is being constantly defunded, and it is really troubling that this is happening. I can't even speak to think that it's being forced to be defunded, technically. All of this is a very big telling tale of who is wrong in the world of society. This goes very deep. It's more than I can even cover within 40 minutes of this entire recording. Now, it's going to be less than 40 because I have times where I went silent for a bit because I had to check up something. But in case you wanted to know, this is my first podcast video where I do the research right in front of you. I speak and I do the research right as I go. So if you're interested for more stuff like that and you want to be, want more covers like this, please make sure to follow the channel. Subscribe to my, follow my Instagram, follow the channel by subscribing to, subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave a like on the video, and as always, if this ever gets clipped, you just know where and why. And I'm going to move my avatar a little bit so that my game doesn't disconnect. And with that said, stay safe out there. GBLAE, this project here, I've been at this for 8 years, and if there's more for me to cover, I'll cover it later. It's a bit complicated now because things are a lot more complicated than usual, and typing this all out and trying to discuss it all with like very big details and all those terms is hard to keep up because it's hard to put together if you want to be like that, because it makes no sense to try to use my brain, my feebly brain can't collect and fathom the amount of things going on all at once. These are like millions of people. We're talking about billions of dollars that could be returned back to creators, because essentially if those evil doers of the world continue to do as they do, if they lose those lawsuits, we'll be getting ourselves billions of dollars back for all the scam, fraud, death, and genocide that they've been causing. The amount of people that they starved to death, the amount of people who I had to see, witness, and look at lose their jobs, the protesters who died in Nepal, and all the other countries that protested their governments that have died. And I wish I could remember all their names, but it's a database of a lot of Gen Z members dying. Along with the USAID cuts, the USAID cuts were huge, and I have no idea how to put this together, but essentially there's a lot wrong with this world and it's so full and crooked.